Hold on. All right, we are currently live. Jason keeps coming on stage, but that's okay. We'll stay there for now. Dave will be joining us shortly. Anyhow, thanks for joining everybody. Today we have Jason Nelson. Dave's jumping on too. And we're going to be doing, just talk about my new Pitiophis. But first things first, give a big shout out to USARK, fighting for our rights to keep the reptiles and amphibians and everything we like to, own. They help mitigate that legislation that imposes and infringes on our right to own the animals that we love. And they do a really great job at, keeping track and making sure that no bad legislation gets passed through. So please support USARK as usual. You can buy, merch. You can just reshare their stuff. You can write letters. When they put up a link and there's some legislation that might infringe on something in the state and they might need some support, local support for local governments, please help write letters. That's a big one because a lot of times I know people are busy throughout the day, but that's very important to get our voice across. And then they also have memberships. And then, of course, we have the Southeast Reptile Expo coming up. That's August 9th and 10th. And then we have Anaheim, the Reptile Super Show, coming up in the end of September. I can't remember the dates, but I will be there. And so let's bring everybody else on stage or go back. Hold on. All right, there we are. Sorry, it's I joined last minute. Normally I try to do some prep. Didn't really have much time to prep. And one thing we're going to talk about too is a lot of people know in the community that unfortunately Vin Russo's place, caught on fire, is electrical issue, and it looks like he lost literally everything, which is very unfortunate. So he had a lot of one-of-a-kind boas. And so I feel like there's a lot of projects that are probably almost completely gone or lost, which is pretty heartbreaking. And, Vince wrote multiple books. He's one of the leading authorities on, boa constrictors. And Dave knows him pretty well. And so anyway, he does have a GoFundMe. And he's, we're trying to raise money for him. So any donations are definitely appreciated in him getting to recoup a loss that cannot be replaced. But, a little bit can definitely maybe help. So, Jason, nice to have you here. You're big into Colubrids, especially Pitiophis. Dave, thanks for being here and helping keep everything together as I'm chaotically trying to air this stuff.
We get through it every single time. So, Jason, no pressure. If you want to turn your phone the other way, we'll get a full panel of you. Unless it's not a phone that does that.
It's a phone, but is that better?
No, you got to turn it the other way because it's just not. It's just sideways now. It's just sideways.
Yeah, not just sideways. Yeah, it's just usually it does itself. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. But Jason, I don't know, man. Let everyone get to know you a little bit. Throw some stuff out there.
Yeah, what are your current projects are you working on? What are the species or let's say current breeding projects that you are the most excited about or you're looking forward to the most?
I'm always working on projects. I'm always looking my goal is to create a new morph every year, something that hasn't, been done before. And I usually get there, but there's sometimes where I don't. And then there's some years where I have 2 or 3 new things. But yeah, I mainly work with, my main focus is Pitiophis, gopher snakes, bull snakes. That's my primary focus there. So I'm always, looking for the latest, greatest, and just looking to create new colored combos. I'm really big into gray banded king snakes as well. And just try to have a very diverse collection.
Yeah, you have a lot. How many species do you have? I know you have plains hognose. I know you have several types of Lampropeltis. So how many Colubrid species do you work with?
Good question. Oh, geez, I don't know. It's a lot. I don't even know. 20, 30, I don't know.
Okay. That's a good amount. That's a lot. That's more than I expected. I know I've seen you at the Salt Lake show, and you have always a good array and different, it's not just for me, if you see my table, I'm just hognose and a few geckos. You have a bunch of cool different little projects. You have your, king snakes, you have milk snakes. I've seen, different, bulls. I'm sure you probably work with some, pine snakes too. I can't remember exactly because again, yeah, I know you have a lot, so I don't remember exactly everything you have. And then also I had to show you only have, a sample size too of like, what you currently have for sale. So
yeah. I keep about my breeding collection is about 500 snakes. So it's, I mean, I don't know how big that is in relativity. I guess it's decent.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Like 500, like breeding, like
Breeders,
let's say,
yeah.
Okay, so you probably
Breeders, up and comers, yeah.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah, that's actually, even for me, that's a lot. That's a ton. I think that's a lot, and that's pretty cool. It makes sense too, though, if you have like close to 30 different species projects, you want some genetic diversity, and especially if you have color mutations. As far as color mutations, you think which species do you focus on most? Like, is it Pituophis? Is it, go ahead.
Definitely Pituophis. Bull snakes, I don't know, I'm around 70 adults. Bull snakes, and gopher snakes. I have a very large Sonoran, Great Basin, San Diego collection. Those are probably my 4 big species right there.
So,
Now,
one thing I saw on your page this past week, I sent it over to Junior just a couple minutes ago on Instagram, the white-sided gopher. I never seen that mutation before for some reason.
It's been around a long, long time, but it was held back. The founder of that project, he didn't want anybody else to have it. And so it took me 20 years to acquire it. I kind of had to go in covert and get them because he didn't want me to have them. But I got them, and they're obviously one of the neat. It might be the best looking white-sided snake out there, and out of any species. But yeah, they're sharp.
So you think the white-sided gopher is better than like what you see as the bulls, the white-sided bulls?
The white-sided Sonoran gopher, that it blows away all the others.
Yeah.
Really?
We play the game where we put it up to the thing, but it doesn't show it. I sent you the video on Instagram if you want to pull it up to show it off. But
it's kind of like almost like piebald looking. I mean, it's really, really sharp, high white, and it's let me see if I got that here.
It wipes out the pattern too, so it's just a gray back, a gray stripe down the back, and the really high white sides.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it reminded me of somebody found like a paradox leucistic garter, and it kind of reminded me of that because that is like, I see what you mean. It's like I'm sure nobody's probably going to want to try it, but I'm assuming it probably would not be allele, especially based on its appearance with like the white-sided bull. So if you take the white-sided Sonoran gopher to a bull, you'd probably just get double hets, and then you also have this kind of man-made kind of hybrid to say.
Yeah.
I can't find it, Dave. You sending me too much stuff. I can't find it now, Dave.
That's fine. I sent it to you on Instagram. It doesn't matter. There's a white-sided. You're talking about garter snake. What's the white-sided garter snake project? The Plains white-sided garter, but they call it a white-sided. They have a nickname for it. I think they call it the pearl.
Oh, I see it right here. You got it. It is. That's pretty awesome looking.
Yeah. I like white-sided in most projects. I mean, I go after white-sided, I think, with almost every species we can get one in that we work with now.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you don't see too many like pied like colubrids. Like the closest things you see as pieds is the pied musarana. You have the pied black pine. This is like, technically like this is like a pretty high expression, like kind of variant, whether you want to call it a pied, or white-sided. I mean, but it is like a definitely pied-like animal. It has those characteristics, and it looks like it has black eyes too. And then its tongue is like, it looks extra pink. I don't think a normal gopher's tongue looks like that, does it?
No, definitely not.
Exactly. Pretty cool. And so how new is this project then?
Well, it's fairly new, but I sell a couple a year, and and this year will be the same, but like in, next year they'll be more available. And there's other people with them too, but they're still pretty rare at this point. Yeah.
And do you have them in any other projects? Are you doing any combinations you're looking forward to with them?
Yeah, next year I got the Xanthic Whiteside combo I'm gonna try to hit on, and a Rusty Whiteside. I'm gonna try to hit on both of those next year. I'll have them up to size and ready to give it a try, and hopefully we hit, and hopefully it's neat.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I think it'll look cool, honestly. I do anery palmettos, and palmettos are just giving me a couple speckles, and they still make the animal, in my opinion, a little bit better.
Yeah, the palmetto corns in anery look pretty good. I think I like that. And then they have that new hypermelanistic, nearly melanistic recessive corn snake trait. I think they call it black diamond. You see that one, Jason?
Black pearl? Black diamond?
I haven't seen those.
They're over in Europe. I don't think they've even released them yet, but it's a corn snake and it's pretty hypermelanistic. You can still make out the pattern, but it's pretty black. It's pretty black.
Nice.
Yeah, so that'd be cool once that's out on the market. Especially, do you work with any corn snakes, Jason?
I have one pair right now, and I trying to make a little project out of it. I had a little collection, and I had like, I don't know, 8 females breed for me last year, 8 or 9, and I'm so far lost in the corn game. Like, there's so much going on there, I can't keep up, and I didn't even know what I was producing. Honestly, I got all my stuff, all my animals from Eric Westmoreland, and great guy, great animals. Yeah, I end up selling everything because I just couldn't. I got to focus on bigger, better things for me. But and there's everybody else doing corn snakes, and so yeah. But I did breed Tessera to what was called a blue blood red Motley, and it's kind of a bluish gray Motley. And then I just added Tessera in it to see what it'll look like.
Oh, okay. Did you end up hitting the multiple visual? Did you get the Tessera blue blood Motley or no?
Not yet. I gotta.
Okay. That's okay.
I'm still working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Motley's recessive, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, it's a Lilac with stripe too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I remember a little bit. I'm not up and up on the corn snakes. My dad bred them for a long time, so then I was kind of like, the information like adjacent. So like I'd get information whether I wanted to or not. I mean, but I'm interested in genetics, so I've always wanted, I was always curious. So but yeah, the corn snakes are pretty interesting. There's always a lot going on with them, and it would be hard to keep up with. It's kind of like me with hognose. It's like I couldn't even imagine myself in let's say the ball python world. I'm like, that's impossible. I was like, I wouldn't even want to be there. As far as trying to pursue a project, and do multiple projects and try to let's say compete in the market if that's what I'm going to do. I'm like, ball pythons, I'd rather. I just tap out pretty before I even started at that point.
Yeah. So with the Pituophis, every time I've ever gone out herping, we've found them in the wild. There's always been a lot of them. Are there mutations that are still being found in the wild, or has it been years since something new's been pulled out?
No, there's stuff being found all the time, and that's what's great about if you're working with North American colubrids. We live here in the United States, and stuff's gonna be found, and especially these gopher snakes. They live out in the West, and it's look at Nevada. Great Basin gopher snakes cover that entire state. There's nothing in the middle of that state. There could be tons of mutations out there, and one day one will be found, and but stuff is pretty. And as far as gopher snakes, there's constantly something being found and added into the hobby. So that people, and it's kind of nice. I'm known for it, so people, when they find something new, they come to me and ask me about it, and I'll try to acquire sometimes I'll try to acquire stuff that way, but like at least people kind of let me know what's kind of out there a little bit as well. They want my opinion on it. So
Yeah, no, that helps when people know you in the community. Jeff Ronnie with his labyrinth boa, he got the call when they found that on a farm. Ben Rennick back in the day, because he was known for anacondas, when the T positive popped up in the wild, an exporter called him directly to talk to him about getting it. So, like you said, when you're known in a community, you get these opportunities sometimes given to you.
yeah, for sure.
But how many years have you been working with that species?
I started out with kings and milks, like a lot of people, but within about 3 or 4 years, I found gopher snakes and bull snakes, and I was just hooked instantly. It was like, wow, these eat every time. You can watch them grow overnight. Like they're awesome animals, and they're super easy to handle. And I know like they can have a bad reputation, but like for having an attitude or whatnot. But most, like, I would say 95% of mine are pretty sweet animals. They're not aggressive, and it's just learning their behaviors and personalities. But I have 31 years in this hobby as a breeder.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's a long time. You've been doing Pituophis the majority of that time, right? Because you said you found those early on, and you were hooked on them.
Yep, I started in like 98. I started getting into gophers and bulls and stuff like that. So it's been
nice. Yes.
It's been a while.
What was it like back in 98? Like, what was on the market? What kind of stuff were you working with?
Lots of bulls and gophers. A lot has came along since then. Like there's been so much stuff and like I don't even. I mean, there was of course there's the all year albinos and all this and that and stuff, but then the exanthic bulls really changed the hobby there. A few of these key color morphs really changed things a lot, but that's what's fun about it is there's like especially bull snakes. You got I don't even know how many mutations, but you got quite a few. It's I guess it would be similar to hognose that way. You got two or three albinos. You got a couple exanthics. You got a couple hypos. Like and they're so different looking from each other. You can make a ghost this way or a ghost that way, and they look different. So it's kind of cool in the bull snakes that way.
It'd be cool if there's a super Arctic like type morph in bull snakes. That'd look really, really nice. And it's funny you say bull snakes get a bad rap because it's funny. It's like kind of like even like hognose snakes. People are like, oh, they get, of course, a bad rap for like, and a little misunderstanding, like other poor feeders. And it's kind of more of like a learning curve and like, how you take care of them, how you raise them. Initially, sometimes it can definitely be a little tricky. But then if you have the necessary tools, but like when I find even bull snakes in the wild, because I've been out west herping before, and if I find bull snakes in the wild, generally they're pretty nice. Sometimes they'll do the open mouth gaping hiss through their glottis. And even when I pick them up, it's pretty hard to get bit by one, even a wild one. Like I think I've caught probably about 20 wild bulls, and I think one barely bit me once, maybe. I think maybe two. I had one I had on camera, like try to bite my camera, but it's more like they're not even really trying to really bite you. It's more, it seemed like there's like intimidated because they would kind of just lunge and they barely even can't come in contact with you and they bite you in defense. Is pretty they're pretty nice snakes. Most of the ones I found are pretty chill, and there'd only be a few that do that raspy hiss. But actually, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely they're definitely a rattlesnake mimic. They want to stand tall and hiss and rattle their tail and their patterns even resemble a rattlesnake. So and then usually when the intimidation doesn't work, then they're in flee mode. So they'll take off on you. But interesting thing, I just got into hognose like 10 years ago, and my friend just sent me a group of head albinos, and I was like, I worked with them and I didn't want them at first, and I was like, these things got like they're pissed off, hissing at me, and did this and that. And then after about a year, I was like, I wasn't liking them at first, but then after about a year, I was like, these kind of are like little miniature bull snakes. It's just a little show they're putting on, and once you figure out that they're not being aggressive, it's just they're trying to warn you and display, and they actually crack me up a lot. But like I learned to love them after a while, just of working with them.
That's fair. I've had people say that, or like not quite that, but like similar experiences. And I know one that had opposite. Brad McCarthy, right? You guys know Brad?
I know Brad.
Yeah, he had he got like het albino hog nose like in the late '90s, and he said the male bred the female, and then the female ate the male, and then the female laid eggs, and she ate most of her eggs. And he's like after that, you know what? He goes, hog nose aren't for me. I was like, well, he had kind of like that's a pretty bad at first experience. Like you had like all the things that could pretty much go wrong happen.
Yeah. I like the species, but I was looking at one other animal on your page, the blonde Great Basin gopher. I thought that is a really nice looking animal.
Oh, they're so nice.
Yeah. This never works. We need somebody who knows how to put these pictures up on the internet for us on this. We suck at this podcasting thing. We're trying to get better, but we're just really winging it too much.
We wing it, although sometimes that can be good because then it's not like this is very organic. We kind of just like start doing stuff. We don't really have. There's no plan. Things just kind of happen, so you don't know what we're going to talk about sometimes. How many lineages do you have of like, let's say, Great Basin gophers and like bulls? Do you have like localities, and are you doing like selectively line bred ones like that one that Dave just showed? I'm sure that's probably not a mutation. That's probably a polygenic selectively line bred. And so you're probably creating a bunch of different lineages, like reds, these nice blonde ones, high contrast. Like how many lineages do you have? And I'm sure you're ever expanding on those.
I don't even know where to start on lineages. How many different ones? I add in wild stuff like last year I went herping in Arizona. I collected 3 Sonoran wild caught Sonoran gophers, and I just added them into all my color morphs and create, outcrossing that way too. But like, I'm always adding in stuff, and yeah, that's a hard one. But yes, that blonde is polygenic, and then you just add stuff. It's just Great Basins have a genetic it acts just like anaconda hognose, and I call it a motley, but it's you can breed that to an unrelated animal and get 50% motleys out of it, just like the anaconda. So
is there a super form of that, the motley?
Yeah, it's patternless with a faint. It's like a faint ghost pattern. You can see it, very faint. Pretty neat though.
Does that have anything to do with the patternless projects?
It's totally unrelated. Yeah.
So there's a recessive patternless, then there's the motley that makes a homozygous super form that's pretty much a patternless.
Yep, super motley. Yep.
Do the super motley and the patternless look fairly different though?
Oh, very different.
Very different. Gotcha.
Very different. The patternless will have they'll have some tipping on the scales. Where the motleys, it cleans it up, just like the anaconda cleans up all that and all the little speckling, and kind of makes it look a lot cleaner and sharper. So it does that. And I've added orange into that and I've added orange bloodlines and yellow bloodlines into all these stuff. So there's like the one that gets a lot of talk right now is the Metallica Great Basin. And I named it that because I was an accident. It was actually an accident. But I was trying to make orange animals. And all of a sudden I had this one hatch out that was anery. It was a total fluke. And it was silver and black. And hatched out, and then with its after its first shed, I could see a hint of pink coming through, and every shed it just got brighter and brighter, which I don't think it's really an anery because you shouldn't have oranges with anery, but you do. It might be some type of urothistic. There's so many variations of those, you know. Anyways, the Metallica it's kind of an anery orange animal. But I gave it the name Metallica because the anery gives it a metallic look. So they're almost pink orange with a sheen on them.
Yeah, I tried looking. I couldn't find a picture of those ones. It sounds interesting. The one thing is, there's like, you know, I think in the reptile hobby we rely on like scientific definitions of like mutations, and they're actually pretty limited. Like they describe things like piebald leucism, albinism, Trossing positive albinism, like axanthic anarthristic, and a few others. But there's a lot of mutations that happen in reptiles that like aren't described by science. Like lavenders, like those don't have like a technical terminology. So what you're working with sounds like one of those, kind of like Arctic and super Arctic, or even like there's so many other examples. Like look at ball pythons, like desert ghosts. There's all these genes that are doing something. They don't really have a technical definition, like or a scientific definition. It's just kind of up to the reptile community because there's no geneticists that are actually studying these and like finding out what this mutation is actually. But a lot of times you can look at it, you can kind of tell what the mutation is actually doing. I mean, it's pretty obvious in albino, it's amelanistic, and in axanthic, it's missing yellow and red pigment. But that's pretty cool. That it seems like bull snakes. There might even be more from what you're saying that like genes, or maybe it is kind of on par or close to it, like hognose snakes. But there's a lot of mutations because I didn't even hear of those that before. And how many mutations have you founded with Pituophis?
I can't even count, like
A bunch.
a lot, and a lot of them I didn't even name. Like they were just with a lot bull snakes, and I was just because I was breeding more than most people and working with stuff, and like I know I've created a bunch of bull snake morphs along the way, and I just named them what they were, a patternless snow, or I didn't really I really didn't coin a lot of names for those. I just kind of named them what they were. But um, yeah, there's so many, and pretty much all the Great Basin morphs. There's a bunch, and I've pretty much founded most of those, and or acquired wild stuff or in the beginning stuff. So there, it's a lot, man.
Okay.
These are good questions. I don't have an answer for some of them.
No.
Well, no, you just gotta give us like a ballpark, like because like that's the thing. I mean, you answered it well. It's a bunch. It's a lot. That's all you need. So it's like with the mutations, it's like it's funny because like with like leopard geckos, there was the rainwater albino, bell albino, and tremper albino, and so they had albinos, but they named them, and they also had their name attached to it, the founder. So it's like, wow, that's actually pretty damn good marketing. But I understand where you're coming from. It makes sense. So you come up with a patternless, you call it a patternless. And it's also going to be easy for people to understand. And then if you name them something really crazy, you'll get the annoying question all the time, like, why the hell is it named that? You'll get that constantly. Then sometimes with particular projects, if they have a really, really funky name, although sometimes, there's, good backstories. Do you go herping? Because I think you're from like around the Salt Lake area. And I know you can find, gophers around there.
Yeah, and I've missed you. Like Joel, you and I and Joel were gonna go out a few times, and it just never resonated. But yeah, I get out plenty. And it's just fun. But I'm always looking for something. I did catch. I was tipped off about this 2 months ago. There was I call it a hypo wandering garter, but they have a term called golden. And so I my friend caught it while he was frisbee golfing in West Jordan, and and uh, and then he let it go because I didn't get back to him in time. I'm
Oh
like, dude,
God.
it was a morph. And so I waited a week and I went out there and I caught the son of a bitch. It was the luckiest day of my life.
Wow, that's so cool. There's probably a
yeah.
little locality of them there. Then they're probably reproduced. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I collected a few normal animals from the area and we'll raise them up and see what happens.
That's cool. You know, I heard another frisbee golf story years ago where they were talking about this guy was frisbee golfing. He saw a little garter snake. He picked it up, put it in his pocket, and they took it out. It was a scaleless.
Oh, wow.
I think there was like 3 scales found in the United States, all within like a 3 or 4 year period. I know there was that original one down in Tennessee. They found that picture was going around for a little while, and I think they've recently reproduced scales from that original found animal. But there was a couple others, and even I think in the Kansas City area, they found a couple not that long ago. I think like last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Any scaleless in the Pitchiophis group yet?
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, has there been a scaleless that have popped up in Pitchiophis?
I hatched out a scaleless snow San Diego once, and it died within about 5 minutes of hatching. But I do remember back when kingsnake.com was out, there was a guy that had a scaleless San Diego, and he was asking 10 grand for it back then. But the thing was awesome. It had the most beautiful colors and markings. I don't know whatever happened to that. I've heard rumors of a bull snake coming out of a patternless, a scaleless, but I haven't confirmed that or seen it or anything like that. But so not that I'm aware of, but I've heard rumors.
So I think if you want to go herping anywhere, the best thing to do is find a spot where there's some good habitat, and maybe if there's a frisbee golf place nearby, go there and start playing frisbee golf.
Odds are in your favor, man.
2 morphs found by frisbee golfers. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, if you talk to enough herpers, like, you know, this one kid I used to go herping with, he found a leucistic racer. Gosh, I found that albino tadpole in my backyard one time.
Oh,
that's the only mutation I've ever seen. Yeah, it was complete fluke too. Like it was like day one of a herping trip, and we usually like scour my property before we like drive 3 hours from my house to herp, and my buddy spotted in like a little stream on my property. But I thought that was pretty cool. Never seen another one since. Dries up down there a lot if there's not enough rain, so a lot of times there's no pools anywhere. But if you're getting good rain, there's a good flow of water. But it's been a bit dry in Missouri the last couple of years. Yeah,
it's been raining like crazy here.
Yeah, no, it's just hot as hell right now, man. I think it's like heat index a little over 100 here. It's been in the mid 90s every single day for the past like 3-4 days, and I think it's supposed to stay like this for about 2 more weeks. We haven't flipped a rock. We haven't gone road cruising. When it gets really bad like this, we just don't see anything.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, when it's hot and dry, that's tough to herp. I even like when I was talking to Joel and stuff, he's like, yeah, as soon as like June comes around, he's like, it gets pretty hard to herp there. And like even when I was there in like was it like early May, he goes, yeah, it's kind of getting towards the tail end of the season. I think he said even by end of May it starts getting tough for herping. Yeah. Do you herp with Joel a lot or like here and there?
Just here and there and stuff, but like, yeah, we've gone out. We went out like that day. I was in that show of the Salt Lake, and I think you were going to show up that evening. It was like May 5th or early May. I don't remember exactly what day, but it was early May, and we were going to go try to flip some milks. And yeah, we found it was really hot and dry. It wasn't very productive.
No, I'll usually fight through it. But yeah, I was joking around because the other time I was out there, you put me on a rubber boa spot, and I got up there, and there was just like a million people. Like the whole road I was supposed to walk down was just covered. They had a marathon on, like literally people with like numbers on their chest going up and down that road.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it was cool. I like a good experience like that, you know. But yeah, no, I was really excited because I've never seen a rubber boa, so still on my bucket list.
That'd be cool to find. I went out with Joel. We ended up like we couldn't find each other though. I ended up finding Joel like a half an hour before we had to leave, but we were herping in the same general area, and we found everything but a reptile. I found like centipedes, beetles, these weird ants. We found a little rabbit. I found two looked like types of voles. Shit, I think we found some other weird bugs. And then when I was talking to Joel, because like after we drove down and we found them, and it was like the sun was already kind of going down, and so I was like, let me talk to him before we take off and everything. He goes, oh, I found one gopher. And he goes, we could probably find the rockets under it. So we looked for like another like 10, 15 minutes, and we found it as a little baby gopher snake. So I seen a wild gopher from the Salt Lake area. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So
They're super common, but they're always fun to find still. So
Yeah, I'd go to Western Nebraska. I've herped there twice in the end of May. And the one time I found a ton of bull snakes. Unfortunately, it really sucked. A lot got hit by cars. But because I was just road cruising kind of all day and then going to different spots. But I found some really nice adults. I don't know how many live ones I found. It was a lot. It's probably about 15 in a weekend. And some were really nice. Some were like about 5 foot long, and they had like really good, like they're really healthy, robust bodies. They actually looked like captive born. It's like they were like no scars on some of them, really clean, nice, healthy snakes. And I was like, these are really fun to find. The bull snakes are one of my. I'd like to, of course, find a plains hognose when I'm out there, but when I was in Nebraska, I never found one. But at least I was able to find like bull snakes, and garters were always fun to find.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think the community will feel about a scaleless? I personally like a lot of the scaleless Colubrid projects, but I think since the ball python, scaleless has been frowned upon, I feel.
I've never been like I've never had any scaleless stuff. I wasn't a big fan of it per se. But in saying that, I think that if there was a scaleless bull snake, I think it would be a big time hit. Yeah, I think people would go crazy for that, especially with all the different color mutations out there. And then you can just throw it into them all and just change the look. That's what's neat about bull snakes, because you get these lineages and it's such a vast range. Like you have they are influenced in certain areas with their patterning. Some might be super busy and some might be super clean, and I see it all the time, breeding bull snakes, and I get different looks out of them. I just produced I've worked with yellow bulls for a long time, and this was my first year. I bred a Kankakee, I wanted the darkness from the Kankakee, and I bred it to a yellow, and I'm calling them bumblebees. And they came out this year the first time, and they're freaking smoking. They're awesome.
Nice.
So
it's there's not like because you said you work with gray bandits, and the gray bandit guys are a little anal about what touches what when it comes to breeding, and some guys are a little more hardcore. So with bulls, like there's a little bit of a looseness when it comes to designers. There's not people that are like your Stillwater bull hypo doesn't always have to be exactly a pure Stillwater, or there's some people that maybe still want to keep stuff pure.
there is. I'm afraid that the Stillwaters, I don't know. There's probably somebody out there with pure lineages, but pretty much now it's just been muddied up, with mixing in with everything, which is great in a way. But you're gonna start seeing it's gonna like I could look at a Stillwater hypo and tell that it was a Stillwater hypo. Now you're starting to add it into all these other things, and it's changing the patternings, looking different. Instead of having the roundish, you know, dorsal blotching, now it's you're getting blocky or whatever, and it's making it harder to distinguish these color morphs, what they exactly are. When you start adding them into all this other stuff, it's changing the look of the Stillwater pattern. It had a kind of a unique pattern, and now that's getting changed, and it's changing the look, and so it's harder to identify. There's several, like the Miami County Xanthic Bull. It had this really really killer pattern when they first came out. They almost look like a diamondback rattlesnake, but they've been added in. Now you're seeing all kinds of variations of that in the patterning. You know, you'll see some round ones, round blotching or blockish, or it just, yeah, it's definitely.
What
Is
about size manipulation? Is there, sorry, last one, Junior, size manipulation? Like, is there a certain state that bulls are just known to get a little bit bigger? So if you want to add a little size to your project, you get animals from this region, anything like that?
Yeah, you know, West Texas is known. You know, you got Sonorans out west, but in the bull snake range, the western bull snake range, that's where they get big. And that's where Shannon Brown, I don't know if you guys remember when he came out with, he had that pair he collected. The female was 9'2", the male was 8'10". Like from Highway 277 in Texas. And they're just massive. And he caught the male bull snake he had in a pillowcase, and he went out herping that night. That thing broke through the threads of the pillowcase, just shredded it, and it regurgitated a baby armadillo. Like
what the fuck? A baby armadillo? That's hilarious. That's the funniest thing a bull snake could regurgitate.
it's crazy, but they're big down in Texas. Yeah, for
So
sure.
is it confirmed 9'2"? Because like I didn't even know I've heard of like 9 foot, but I always thought like, well, it's from like people saying like in like up north like Montana. I'm like, there's no way. I was like,
No,
it's probably like it's a 6.5 footer, maybe 6 footer, and they're like exaggerating. But I've heard of 8, and I seen a gopher this one guy caught, and he was like a really tall dude. You might even know who he is. He does like animal rescue, and goes and gets snakes if they're in somebody's house. But
that was a guy out of Southern California, right?
Yeah, I think so. And he's tall. And the guy was like 6'4", 6'7". He's holding it, and it was like about an 8-foot gopher.
I seen that picture.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
So that's insane. And it confirmed 9'2". So that's probably is that like the world record then?
That's the biggest one I know of. But
right.
Yeah, he marketed them as monster bulls. They never really, mine never turned out that big. So I don't know.
Probably takes them a long time to get that big. No, I'm sure that's like an older snake too. Maybe you need to feed armadillos. Has anybody started breeding those for feeders?
Yeah, maybe there's special juice in there that makes them grow.
They got pretty big litters, man. Those armadillos are starting to make a move. Like when I saw them in Missouri, I thought that was the craziest thing ever, and they're going further north every year.
That's funny that you found one in Missouri. This guy caught one in Missouri. He said he said it was spitting in your hand, and you had a cut on your hand, and then you were like worried because they're supposed to be like carrying leprosy.
If I was worried about that, I probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. I wasn't worried. I think I was just pretending to be. But yeah, I think there's only like one confirmed case of like leprosy, and I think the guy ate it. But yeah, I don't know if you ever picked up an armadillo, but when you grab them by the tail, when you go to get them off the ground, they start spinning. So you got to get them off the ground real fucking fast and hold on real tight. Because if you don't get them off the ground fast, they grab you to the ground and they just pull right out of your hand while spinning. But once you get them off the ground, they're good. You just put your hand underneath them; they're pretty chill.
Nice.
Now those diamond. I used to see armadillos all the time. I feel like when I went to Florida as a kid, like we go to like Disney World or to visit family. And I haven't been like, I was in Florida for Daytona, but the last time I'd been like in Naples and Fort Myers. And like, I just like when I was like around like 9, 10, 12 years old, I feel like I've seen like one or two every time I went down there. Now I haven't seen an armadillo in forever.
Yeah. When you go herping, there's the mammal hat trick. You could do a raccoon, a possum, and an armadillo. The best night I think I ever had, I've done 2. I've never got that third one. I've only caught 1 raccoon.
I'm not interested in that. Yeah, count me out on that one. I'm not interested.
One and done. I got a shitty picture. I'll never do it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. That sounds like not a great idea. Now, Jason, those you said those bull snakes, that one morph had the like diamondback kind of like pattern. Do you is there any locales that have a pattern like that? Like, is there bull snakes from a certain region as like, okay, they don't have that big, like, those ones with like the kick hankies have the bigger, darker bold blotches, There's ones that are probably a little like smaller blotches. Is there any from certain areas that have like the diamondback like blotches, or is that just part of that mutation?
I think it was part of the locality that the reason that had that, and that was out of I want to say the Miami County. It was the Miami County Exanthic. Geez, is that now? I'm drawing a blank on the state. It's I want to say Oklahoma or Kansas, but I'd have
Interesting.
I'd have to look it up. But anyways, they that when that Exanthic came out and it changed the bull snake. And about they in 2005 that's when they kind of so there was numbers, bred in captivity, and I just remember looking at these things like that thing looks like a freaking rattlesnake. It's black and silver, and yeah, it just had this really really sharp diamond, like even on the sides they would triangulate and the blotches below would triangulate, so it would create this zigzag in the patterning too. But
Sounds like a cool locale to get that. If like that's kind of been like if that kind of disappeared and it had that pretty neat effect with like projects, and you could even selectively line breed it. So that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool to bring that back. I haven't seen it so much, and because it's been 20 years now, and they've been thrown into everything, so you don't see it too often. But when they first came out, they were really sharp.
All right, we got a lot of armadillo sightings in Missouri. The Hamstar said they see them all the time. That's a really sharp looking bull snake.
It's so nobody's on Instagram looking at NV Reptiles. I'm just stalking him as we're talking a little bit, but no, I think that's what you're talking about, right? Or
no,
shoot,
no. I probably don't even have a picture of one of the.
He said it's been like 20
anymore.
years. Yeah, it's been a while. So
I went back like 4 posts and I thought I found it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if I still have pictures of anything like that anymore because it's been so long. We were using computers, not phones back then.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I have some old photos on like one of my old computers, and like it's at the time you don't think it's like, oh, we have this stuff, and then 20 years later it's like, man, I wish I had a picture of this.
Yeah, for sure. I've kind of wanted. I have my old computer, and I kind of want to. I've been hanging on to it for 20-something years, and I want to dig some pictures out of it, but I just, how that goes. I'm not gonna do it.
You need to get some kid that's into like computer stuff and just ask him just pull up all these pictures and just put them on a file and hand them to me and pay him like $40.
No kidding. Yeah, I have some articles and stuff I wrote, and I would like to publish them, at least just on my socials and stuff. But like, yeah, they're lost in a computer with some pictures somewhere. But
that'd be cool stuff to have, because that's 30 years back, and you coming out with a lot of even like single mutations and lineages. You're probably one of the most important people in Pituophis as far as herpetoculture goes. And also here's an interesting one. What's your relationship, if you have one, with like Craig Trumbauer? Because I know he's a big pitch. I know Craig was like kind of like an everything Colubrid guy too, but he's real big into Pituophis, and I know he has lineages and stuff. Like, how much affiliation do you have with Craig, getting stuff from Craig, or anything like that? Stories?
I know Craig just very little.
Okay.
Like we talked, he's writing a book, Pituophis book that's supposed to come out pretty soon, within I would say next year or so. I did the article. He asked me to do the article and the pictures for the Great Basin gopher snakes, since I'm pretty much the guy that heads up that one, pretty much mostly just me. There's other people here and there type of stuff, but I have most of the mutations already. Craig's a good guy. Yeah, he one cool thing about him is this was like 6-7 years ago, and all of a sudden I get I get a package in the mail, and it was an old school herp book from way back in the day. Craig just thought I would like it, and he sent it to me
Oh,
just
cool.
randomly. But yeah, we talk a little bit, but yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. I wasn't sure because I know he's been around. I know I was like, because I was talking about, I was like, you creating all these like lineages and all these morphs, and I'm like thinking like who else is real big into Pituophis, and the only names that really come to mind other than you was like Craig Trumbauer. I'm sure there's other people, but like, I'm not really super focused on Pituophis. I do appreciate them. They're awesome snakes. I can see why they're so popular, and the popularity on them always seems to be growing because I hear more and more people asking about them and everything. And the color morphs and stuff, when I go to shows and see some stuff on people's tables, like the really nice red albinos and just really nice red lineage ones, as well as I really like the Xanthic or really the Xanthic hypos, the ghost, white-sided ghost in particular. Those are one of my favorites. I like those a lot. So yeah, that's why I was asking about that. And I know Craig's, I don't know how why. Well, I know he's the kind of one of the Pituophis guys. I know him just because I got some hognose snakes from him when I was 15 and 16 years old.
Yeah. No, I think Craig just made a post this past week. He was looking for some like larger bull snake photos for the book, and I think it's about wrapped up. Like you said, I thought when I originally talked to him, I could be talking out my ass, but I thought maybe by October that could be ready. But I think he's still just finishing things up right now.
Yeah, I haven't followed up with him to know exactly where it's at, but there's not a lot of literature on Pituophis, so any little bit is needed. Yeah, there's not a lot of information out there. I have a little YouTube channel. It's called Snake Envy. It's just small time, but I've had some cool experiences like from people like some guy was back from the Middle East, and he was just thankful that we had our channel because he could not find any information on Pituophis, and he was getting all that information through our YouTube channel. So that's pretty cool. But there isn't a lot out there as far as information. Even on the internet, there's just not a lot done.
What do you think is like some information that people like, don't really find, or information that you find people are lacking when it comes to Pituophis? Let's say is like just an individual that wants to keep or a breeder. Is there anything like that comes to mind?
There's a lot of misnomers. Like I get a lot of people think they get on the internet and they read that bull snakes are 8 feet long, and yes, they can get 8 feet, but that's not norm. That's not the norm. So you get a little bit of information that's not true. And I get it, like with hognose, they're sexually dimorphic, and I get that a lot. And I'm like, no, I have males and females that are giant too. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, or lack of information.
That's actually an interesting one because I didn't really think about that, and I should. So, how much sexual dimorphism do you see between the bulls? Do the males have like longer tails, and then you said size, that you have big males and big females? Is there one that tends to get a little bigger, or is it based more on feeding? Because like a lot of snakes too, I see it where like let's say even ball pythons. I'd assume like some people, once they get their males kind of big, they're not slamming them like their females, so their females are inevitably always going to get a little bigger or on a bigger size for how a female can get, versus if they're not slamming their males.
No, I don't see any dimorphism in
really.
Pituophis.
Okay,
I don't, but I get asked that constantly.
So if you found ones in a wild, like in a big adult, you have no idea based on its structure or anything, that it could be a male or female. You kind of have to sex it.
Yeah, pretty much. But you can, like, I had I had a girlfriend, and she wanted a bull snake, and I gave her a bull snake like 5 years ago, and then she gave it back to me, and it was I thought it was a female, and when I got it back, I was just like, she brought it back to me like 4 months ago, and this thing's 6 foot long, and I was like, I was excited because I knew it was a female, and it was an albino patternless. Well, I picked this thing up, and it's like, oh man, that's a male, no problem. You could tell it was a male so easily.
No,
But
okay.
yeah, uh, yeah. So
And do all of them,
it's
when you pair them, how common is it for the male to bite the female to hang on? I think that's a pretty cool behavior to see in snakes.
it's pretty common.
Okay.
Not always, but it happens every year somewhere along the line in my collection. Yeah.
Looked up the Guinness Book of World Record bull snake, and it says it was 8'4". So someone's full of shit right now.
I remember hearing that name Shannon Brown like on old like King Snake forum like classifieds, because I know you said I was like, that's real. I know I've heard and seen that name before, and I remember and like King Snake, I think even on fauna and forums and stuff, that name brought up a lot. But that was like when I was like, that would have been like 18 and like 20 years ago, like in my late teens. But I mean, that's the thing. I don't know. Do they have like actual proof that this thing was like 9'2", and like how certain of you are that that one is 9 foot? I mean, I feel like reptiles, sometimes certain species, people aren't documenting it, so it very well could be 9 foot too.
I can't validate any of that. But Shannon was a good friend of mine, and he passed away. I want to say about 10 years ago, but Shannon had some crazy stories, but like I want to believe him on this. So
Okay.
Right.
yeah.
What's the biggest bull snake clutch you've seen?
The biggest clutch? My biggest clutch that I've ever had laid was 33 eggs.
Holy crap, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Same questions for, is there a certain region where they're known to have more eggs? I think Junior told me the Miami corn snakes have smaller eggs and larger clutches.
It seemed like it when my dad worked with them. I'm not a corn snake guy, but yeah, my dad's Miami phase corns, man. They laid a lot of eggs.
I do remember when the hypo stillwaters were first came out, and they laid I remember they would lay a lot of eggs, but smaller in size. And so I mix so much stuff, this and that. Like it's just a mashup anymore. But yeah, they lay big eggs. They're pretty much the size of a chicken egg. And the pine snakes, they lay like the long ones, like the hot dogs. I've seen a black pine snake egg as long as a dollar bill.
Wow. Yeah, and the black pines, they don't ever seem to lay many eggs. I always hear they lay around like 5, 6, 7 eggs, 8 eggs max or something like that.
Yeah, that's a big clutch is 6, I would say, for those.
Do you have anything like that? Do you work with, or you talk about like, Great Basin gophers and bulls? Do you have any pines?
Yeah, I have I have a few. I have some Kentucky Northerns, some Ocean County Northerns, albino Northerns. I got a couple locality of Florida pines. I do not have any blacks or Louisianas, but anymore. But yeah, I have a few localities kicking around.
That's cool. Yeah, I like the Northerns a lot. I remember this one website, they had Northern pines, and they had the one locale that were actually kind of reddish, and they're kind of like a rusty burgundy, and I thought those were pretty cool looking. I don't know if those are still around.
Yeah, I was looking at mine today, and I have an Ocean County, and she was. I fed her a pretty good meal yesterday, a couple days ago, and she was looking really pink today because the reds were blushing out on her. Pretty good, but that's the weird thing. Those Northerns, they hatch out and they go through several color phases throughout their life. They'll change couple times on you.
Oh, cool.
Until adulthood, yeah.
Yeah, I've never actually the funny thing is I've never owned a bull snake, but one of my like my third or fourth pet snake was a northern pine, and I had that for a while. But I've never owned a bull snake. I definitely appreciate them. I'm actually surprised I never owned one at some point, but I did have a northern pine, and it's pretty. I got it as an adult, and as a kid, and his dad had it, and they just kept it as a pet, and it's one of those really nice high white ones, and it is a really fun snake to keep.
Yeah, they're just impressive. This just the girth and the size they can get on a bull snake. Like you get, especially when these females they get when they're gravid, they're big as round as a tennis ball. Like they're just massive.
This person's saying Louisianas are very similar to the black pines with egg count. I didn't know that. Makes sense because you always hear the Louisiana pine seems pretty coveted. Those are ones you need like a permit. They're like kind of like Eastern Indigo, right? Where you need a permit to cross state lines and stuff. Or
Yeah, yep. The Louisianas and the blacks. The blacks were recently added to the endangered list because of their small range. So black pines and Louisianas, you have to have, yeah, you have to have a permit. You can't cross state lines without that.
Gotcha. Kobe had a red line of northerns. This person says, B&S Reptilia. Chris. All right. If anybody wants any questions too, we got Jason Nelson here. Now, the only thing is we really talked about Pituophis, which I kind of thought was going to be the main topic. But do you have a favorite like Lamprey-Peltis, like King milk? What do you like? Do you like Utah milks like Joel? What's your favorite Lampro?
I have a tattoo on my arm right here of a Nabalakai.
Okay.
The Mexican Pyro. I just think they're. I don't even have any in my collection there right now, but like I just think their patterning with the high band counts and then the high white sides on them. I like that look when you get the heavy band count and the high white speckly sides. Is a really neat looking snake, naturally occurring like that.
Yeah.
I really have a pretty good milk snake collection. And I have a pretty decent. I have a decent king snake collection as well, but I really, I don't know as far as a favorite, but I do like red milks a lot. That's probably one of that's. They're just little teeny guys, and they're there in Missouri, and they're. But I don't know. I just think they're neat.
Those are cool. I like red milks. Where I'm at, I got Eastern milks. They're not as pretty, but they actually my first pet snake and the first snake I fell in love with was actually an Eastern milk snake. Because my dad had this North American Audubon of reptiles and amphibians, and it was actually just illustrations. And they had an Eastern milk snake drawn in there, and I thought it was really cool. And I always liked looking at it. I always liked the colors and just a pattern on it. And my favorite milk snakes actually similar to yours. I like the red milks a lot, but I really like the coastal plains milks a lot. And they're really tiny too. I really like the coastal plains milks. Those are very pretty and cool.
Yeah, they're sweet. Yeah.
No, I've seen one would look like a hypomelanistic red milk here, but honestly, it kind of made it this like burnt orange. I'll send you the picture afterwards. I found it like 7 years ago. That was just a catch and release, and a friend of mine found one that the red and black pigment or pattern was just like super thin. It was just really the white in between was really wide. I don't really know how to explain it. I wish I would have got a picture, but this past year there was I think 2 or 3 pattern looking mutations that popped up in red milks in Missouri. And I think they also, it's kind of off topic, but I think they also found an albino Prairie King this year.
Oh wow.
That's pretty cool. There's already albino Prairie Kings in captivity. Unless it's like a new type of albino or looks different, that'd be pretty sweet.
It's probably the same shit we have already. Who knows?
We got John Lee Haber asked, are you and John doing any Mex projects this year? The funny thing is, I have a friend that has like one Mex and he's trying to find another. And actually, I think those, in some way, I think they're actually cooler than gray bands. I really like those dark charcoal grayish black ones with that really nice red. And like at Pomona and another show, I think Pomona, there was one, and this other big expo I went to, there wasn't even a single Mex in the entire show.
I have a 1.3 Mex, but I didn't get any good eggs this year. Two of the females were gifted to me through a friend, and they probably weren't aligned to cycle, probably just whatever, you know, that kind of can get jacked up when you're moving stuff around from place to place, right during breeding season. So I didn't do well with those, but I do have some. And I agree with you, Jeff. Like a dark charcoal gray with a bright lipstick red
Yeah.
smacks. That I don't. I love that look. I'm not a fan of the speckly stuff. I like the traditional big red blotching on them.
That's what I liked. When I seen ones that are like one of the best ones I seen was like it's close to like it's like a charcoal blackish. Yeah, with like you said, like bright red. And I was like, wow, that's friggin' nice. I was like, that's better looking than like in my opinion, for my preference. I was like, I like that better than I like those gray bands. The funny thing is my favorite gray bands are the ones that look kind of like them. You know what I mean? They're the real black ones, and they got the big, like orange, dark, deep orangish, almost reddish bands. I think those are like the best looking ones. Now I learned something about gray bands about 7, 8, 9 years. It was about like 8, 9 years ago. Because I see all these locales, and I know the gray band locale guys are like insane. Like if you breed one from one side of the highway by an adjacent highway, you're a piece of shit. I'm exaggerating a bit. But anyway, some of them, like my friend bought a bunch of them, and he's like, he goes, yeah, man, these things sell well. And he goes, I like, these are really cool. And I started looking at the locales. I was like, man, I almost won a few. I was like, these are really cool. But then I was like, wow, some of these locales, I'm like, they look completely different. And he goes, oh yeah, they're really variable. And he's like, they can look like completely different in some locales. He goes, or like, throughout just that single locale, you get a whole bunch of different phenotypes, just like natural different like variations. And I'm like, why the fuck are these guys so concerned then, in particular with the locale, if there's such a strong variety? I was like, that blew my mind. But anyway, I'm not in the community, so I'm no person to judge, even though I judged lightly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into it, but not like these old timers. Like it gets way carried away with the gray bands. But that's what's so neat about them is I have color morphs in gray bands. But you really don't need them because just all the different patterns and colors and variations, like they're super cool that way. Like you said, one mountain range to the next, totally different look. Can be totally.
Even like what Junior's saying, like literally ones that are collected on the same road look completely different from each other, like they were collected miles and miles away.
Oh yeah. I had this one locality called Eagle's Nest. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And so I just dug into it a little bit. It was a Langtree, I believe, don't get me, it's been a little while, but it's like, I think it was a Langtree locality, but they called it was like they have like almost like secondary localities. Like, so Eagle's Nest, you cross this bridge, there's a dead tree with an eagle's nest. If it's not from right there, it's not an eagle's nest.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah.
The only other the only other community I heard that's or I've seen is like similar to that, but it's been a long time, so I don't know if they're still like that. Is Rosy Boa people are pretty extreme too.
Yes.
Rosy Boa people are pretty bad. I mean, they scared me away. I remember I was in my late teens or right around 20. I was like, man, I might get some Rosy Boas. I liked some of these ones. And then I started like talking to people and seeing all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to stay out of this one.
Yeah. And I just thought it was funny with the Rosy Boas, like, and even some of the other stuff. Like Rick Blair was my mentor. He lived near me, and that's an old school name. He was into a lot of locality animals and colubrids, and he had like all these Rosy Boas, and it's like, you have 20 different localities and 3 different subspecies, and it's like this locality, this locality, this locality, and this locality all look the same. Why do you need so many localities?
Right.
Yeah, they start looking the same.
Kind of like plains hognose. Like it's like you gotta go quite a while for them to change, and then some locales can look just like ones a few hundred miles apart. The northern locales are generally pretty dark, but if you take a hognose from like Minnesota and show it to me, like I get the ones from Minnesota and like Canada and Montana confused sometimes, and that's not close.
Wow.
Minnesota is not close to Montana, unless you think like a 15-hour drive is close. And, they look pretty similar. And, there could be a little bit of differences. And then some of the isolated populations have a unique look, like the ones from Illinois. You could generally kind of tell. But it's pretty hard because, like, even if you look at them all the time, I'm never 100% accurate. And, and I like looking at them all the time. But, yeah, then if you get to, like, New Mexico, they have a particular look. Then they can look like a certain kind of faded out way with reduced saddles. And sometimes they even have a little more orangish red pigment in their iris. And but then you get to ones that kind of look like just like a plain looking like West Texas kind of brownish one. And they cover such a large range, and they don't really have that huge of like, morphism between these like locales. They don't really change much size wise or pigmentation. There's differences, but it's very, very minute, even over a couple 1,000-mile difference.
Wow.
So I was poking around on my phone. I found those red milk pictures, a couple that were found this year. But
that's really cool.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yes, that was one that popped up this year, and here's another one that popped up this year.
Wow.
This is kind of like what I meant. You see like the high white on the tail?
Yeah.
One that my buddy found looked just like that all the way up, but it didn't have the striping at the neck or anything like that. It was just a really reduced pattern. But no, like you said, the milk population in Missouri is really good. I've had some spots I used to find a ton of them, and now I find a ton of speckled kings there. So I am having to find some new areas, but they're pretty common, man.
Yeah, I've heard Missouri. It's a cool place. I've run out of that state by the state park too. I'm just photographing. They didn't care. They ran me out of the state. Like they didn't even want me photographing stuff.
No, we so on one of the herping pages in Missouri, I don't know exactly what spot it was. I think they just specified like southeast, but they were flipping rocks, and a couple of guys came over, wrote them tickets for disturbing the animals. And when I was in Kansas, we found a garter. It was like early AM. I'm literally on my chest on the ground taking pictures of a garter in the road. And guy comes up, Warner comes up. He's talking to us, right away. He's all like, in the state of Kansas, to flip a rock, you need a permit. And the permit is similar to a permit you would get to get a firearm or like a hunting permit, like something real fucking serious. So you got to actually get a class.
Wow.
I see a lot of people herping in Kansas, but then also if you have that, you can collect in Kansas. So like maybe like 5 bulls a year, whatever else. I don't know exactly how those rules work, but yeah, no, I've herped a lot of places and never really got fucked with, but I'm hearing more and more now people are getting fucked with.
Yeah, I'm mostly just in Missouri, and I've been questioned in Arizona and stuff, but I think they're used to it in Arizona, because it's the Mecca, it's the herping state. But yeah, I've been ran out of Missouri. I love, like, Missouri has some awesome animals, and so does Kansas as well.
I can't believe in Missouri anybody is even able to find you. How many park rangers do they have on staff? Like 4 for the whole state, and they found you that day. Well, that's usually, I think, a good sign, though. If they do like investigate you and everything, is like, wow, that's probably a nice area to move to because there's probably nothing going on in this area. So, if that's like big news, somebody herping, I know my dad, he went out on this trip just to herp and do other stuff for like 3 months and out west. And so I went on Google Earth for him. I told him to go to this one spot in Oklahoma. He actually found a beautiful bull snake. It was really, really pretty. Actually, I got a lot of shit for it. So I told a bunch of people that it was like really kind of like, it was a nice pastel colored one, hypoish. And I was like, it's kind of greenish. And everybody flipped out. They said a green bull snake. And I was like, it had like a greenish yellow hue. And then it got turned into a saying. I said it was a fucking green bull snake. I was like, I never said it was green. I was like a greenish like hue. And a lot of people were saying that. It's like, I've never seen that on a bull snake, blah, blah, blah. But I'll try to get the photos. But it's like a nice blonde kind of like really, really faint one. And it was really, really nice. He found some nice ornate box turtles. And then some ranger there interrogated him for like a half an hour. And then my dad just left afterwards. He told me about it. It was pretty terrible. Then he was like, the guy was like asking him if he was collecting anything. And my dad's like, no. He goes, I don't even have anything on me. And he was showing him the pictures. And he goes, well, if you're just photographing and stuff, he goes, well, where's your camera? My dad's like, I just use my phone. And so, yeah, he was held up for, it was at least a half hour, maybe been longer. I'll have to ask him about it. And the guy searched his whole car and everything. And then he just ended up leaving it. He's like, yeah, I'm not staying in this area. And then he talked to somebody local, because it was around the salt plains in Oklahoma. And then he said, yeah, a couple of locals said, oh, yeah, we all know him. Yeah, guy's an asshole.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I think one last thing about that. So the same spot in Kansas, that salt flat that actually go out there. The first time I was out there, somebody came up to us, got out of the car. We're kind of like just chatting. And I think I saw like a snake on the road, like 20 feet away. And I was like, are we in trouble? And he's like, no. And I was like, can I run over there and look at that snake? And he's like, yeah. So like 3 grown ass men just went like running down the road away from the cop afterwards, or the park ranger. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hearing more and more of it. The Missouri thing's kind of a surprise because I hurt Missouri a lot, and I've never had anybody say anything to me. One time at a park, they came out to the car, asked what I was doing, explained to them, showed them pictures of my phone. I guess there was a little bit of a back and forth, but nothing serious.
I just I was in the wrong place the wrong day.
What part of the state were you in? You don't have to give me the spot, but what region?
It was Western.
Western, okay.
That's Central Western, you know.
Dave, you're like South Central, aren't you?
I'm like in the middle-ish. I'm like between Springfield and like St. Louis, like on the 40.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but no, I was in Mark Twain National Forest for about 6 years. That was great. We laid down tin all over the property. Probably didn't flip it enough, but when we did, there was always something underneath it. When we first got to the property, also the guy across the street, a tornado went through, knocked down his barn. He let us spread the tin out on his property because it wasn't out there anymore. We used to flip over there a whole lot. Like I said, I try to find like one new spot a year. We came across a really good spot this past year. Mike Schultz found it for us. We found 3 coach whips in about an hour. Well, we spent about 8 hours. Once we found the first one, we found like 2 more right away. But no, yeah, I think I only have like 4 or maybe 5 species of snake I haven't seen in Missouri yet. I still got to see, like mud snake. I haven't seen the Massasauga in the state yet. I haven't seen the fox snake. I haven't seen the bull snake, and maybe there's more. Maybe there's like 6 or 7 I haven't seen yet.
You haven't found a bull snake yet? You must not be looking in areas where they occur then.
Well, there's actually areas not too far from where I live now where there's like small populations, but no, I've never. They're more like towards the west in the state.
Okay.
Similar area to where you'd like find fox snakes. I haven't had the opportunity to go across any of these spots. And anytime I have been to a spot, you could find a bull. I haven't found a bull.
Interesting, because bull snakes go as far like east as like Illinois. I think they might even go. I think bull snakes go into a little bit of Indiana, West Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. And Missouri's, kind of in that. Because I know there's a ton in Nebraska and Kansas. That's just west of Missouri, but must be a lot of the terrain there. The habitat isn't perfect for them.
No, I'm looking it up as we talk about this. So when you first got in the hobby and you were working with Pitchiophis, was there like a mentor or somebody that kind of like guided you along early on, or did you kind of figure it out yourself?
For like, as far as Pitchiophis, like not a lot. Like, I mean, Bob Applegate had, talked to him a little bit. He's, Joe Pierce was a guy that I met at the San Diego Expo. But what I noticed when I first got into it, and I was like, got into snakes, and then I started getting into pits, and I'm like, there's not a lot of people doing this stuff right here. And it's usually like there's a person here and there that'll have a gopher snake or 2, but like nobody was really specializing like I was doing. I mean, there was John Cherry's around too, and KJ Loderidge, and there's a few guys, but I was kind of dealing with a lot of color morph stuff, and I just kind of I was like, nobody's really working in this area, and I kind of like I kind of like these animals, so that's kind of where I do stuff. I don't work with animals. Just I work with them because I like them. I don't. This is a good snake to make money with. I don't generally do that. It's just I like the animals, and if they're popular, they're popular. If they're not, they're not. So that's kind of me a little bit. But there wasn't a lot of people specializing in Pituophis when I got into this.
Do you know Norm Dam?
Oh yeah, I don't know him, but I know that name.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because he's local to me, and I know he's I think he knew like one person from, I think it was like, may have been from like Colorado before like there was any like law change, but I think the one guy had a morph from there of a bull snake, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was it could have been Texas, but I know he was I'd have to ask. It's been so long, but I'm pretty sure he was involved with one of the discoveries of one of the, like, maybe as a leucistic. I can't remember now though.
So either of you guys read up on the law changes in Colorado with cage requirements yet?
Yeah, I seen that one. I didn't read up on it, but I did see that published.
Okay, yeah.
I know Colorado's really tough on the reptile community, and their herping laws aren't very friendly either. And I've heard a lot of people. I've heard people moving out of the state so they could breed reptiles without being harassed. I've heard that recently.
Yeah, I have a buddy of mine who last couple months has been showing me a list of his collection. Looks like he's trying to downsize and get out of the state. It could have been because of this. I'm sure there's other people. I know, like, like for a ball python requirement, if a snake's 5 feet, the cage has to be 5 feet wide.
I have to look into it. Like my one friend, Hip Hogs, Teresa, she breeds Plains hognose in the state of Colorado. She has a permit for it, and she's one of the few people. And it's really not that hard to get, but they have to come in and do yearly inspections. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, because like she already has all of her racks and enclosures, and most of the racks, though, I feel like, enclosures for hognose snakes, like most of us don't have enclosures that are much shorter than the length of the animal. If we do. So I'm going to see what she says about that, or if she has any feedback, because she has to have yearly inspections. And, it's Fish and Wildlife officers that look at her stuff. It's Fish and Wildlife or DNR, I forget. Because, like, every state's different. Like, some states, the DNR will do stuff that Fish and Wildlife does, and, like, vice versa. They all have their kind of own little, like, ways they kind of break it up. So, and even Ohio's a little weird. So, like, I always get confused because certain states, it's this way. But anyway, I'll ask her, because they come and do inspections. I don't know how much they're going to be really enforcing that, and how, strict they're going to be.
It's as much money. It depends on how much money they can throw it at it, I guess. How many people they could send out. Like you said, there's a lot of people in the state that already have a permit that acknowledge they have these animals. So there are doors they can knock on, I'm sure, to make sure the requirements are being changed. But I want to say this, like, I feel like it went into effect like on the 15th.
Okay. Yeah, then we have Berserk. He goes, it's the DNR for, I guess, Colorado. And Pale Scales was, I love how the laws are created. This is typical Pale Scales, Danielle. I love how the laws are created and enforced by people who have no idea what they're actually inspecting. Not saying I don't agree with better cage size, but at least appoint the experts in the field. They'll have, like, probably DNR people, like, but for the most part, nobody's going to actually know. Because you're going to buy an enclosure and a snake separately. Nobody's going to be doing, like, the accounting math like Ben Affleck in that new movie and trying to figure out, like, what kind of snake you own, how big it is, and what are the parameters of your enclosures. They're just going to say this, and then maybe once a year, somebody that's probably not doing stuff right and probably actually shouldn't even own animals, is neglecting them, probably has them in a shitty setup, and then they're going to go after that one person. But, with, like, let's say somebody I know, like Teresa, that, has inspections, takes good care of her stuff. If they come over and they have a 30-inch hognose and a 28-inch long enclosure, they're probably going to be like, yeah, this is fine.
So, I also wonder, just because sometimes when it comes to that enforcing the rules, if they say a female hognose can reach 36 inches, I don't know if all adult hognose, they'll just say have to be in like a 36-inch, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they're going to measure out every animal. It might just be like, adults get this big, we require this big. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because again, like, like what Jason's saying, like bull snakes, yeah, they can get up to 8 foot, but it's pretty much like impossible. I'm sure if I bought like 50 bull snakes and then fed them. And even if I fed them somewhat heavy, I'm sure like none of them would probably even come close to 8 foot. Like those sizes are rare. You know, like I'd hear with even like Brazilian rainbow bows, like people will talk about like 7+ footers. And I even asked people that had worked with them and resold them, you know, like the Kick Brothers and others. And like, have you ever seen like a legit 7 foot plus Brazilian rainbow? And they're like, no. And I had one that was 6.5. And I know one person that had one that was very old from Norm Dam's collection. And that's the thing, is a very, very old one. And reptiles never stop growing. Their growth rate just drastically slows down. And this was like a 20+ year old Brazilian rainbow bow, maybe even close to 30 years old. And it was like damn near 7 foot. And that's as big. So that would be crazy. And what do we have here? You see, he said, when I was looking at moving, they had such bullshit mixed info. Their own government doesn't know the laws, and they just go crazy style on it. Yeah, that goes without saying. That's every state with almost any law, unless it's like murder or like drunk driving, unless it's like real clear cut. Especially when it comes to animal laws, like, yeah, most of these laws aren't really, you know, enforced, and a lot of times they don't even know. Like if you contact the state of Iowa, like the DNR, if you're allowed to sell hognose there, sometimes they'll tell you yes, sometimes they'll tell you no, other times they'll tell you we have no idea. And I know people that have bought hognose. I've seen people that actually set up businesses and they're selling plains hognose in Iowa, and nobody's ever got in trouble. And that's just because they don't want to, you know, enforce it, or just has to come up on their radar. And even if it has, they might be like, that's not really serious. We don't really think it's a problem. But that's the issue, because if they decide they want to do something, then they might. Because I've heard of that, which that's not how laws are supposed to be enforced. But, you know, we do have a lot of laws that are, of course, made by legislators that, you know, or get proposed, get pushed through, and they're based off of things that, you know, people that don't even know what they're talking about are saying.
How about Utah? You got to worry about anything out there?
Our laws are the friendliest ever. Like they just changed them 5, 6 years ago. Now, like I think my permit's $10 a year, and that permit, I can go collect 4 total mountain king snakes from Utah. And milk snakes, 4 rubber boas. I think you can have a bunch because they're not even protected. But now you're starting to see Utah mountain kings and milk snakes, and there's some other cool stuff in Utah. Like our laws are super friendly, and Joey Mugglestein was a big part of that, getting those laws changed here. But they're super friendly. They weren't prior to that. They were horrible. But they're super friendly. It's pretty neat to be able to go collect a pair of mountain king snakes and breed them and sell the babies. You can't sell any wild stuff, but you can sell all the captives. And there's another something that a species that is intriguing to me here in Utah is the intermontane, the Great Plains rat. There's the mainland population is on the other side of the Rockies, and then there's this blitch right on the Utah-Colorado border, and they're very neat looking over there. So I mean, it just opens the doors for more stuff. Which is
that a Great Plains milk snake in that locale you're talking about?
Rat snake.
Oh, rats! Oh, yeah, the Great Plains rat snakes. Yeah,
the intermontane. Okay. Yeah, because they're on. They don't really go further than the Rockies, but then there's that isolated population that's 300 miles away or whatever it is, and it's just interesting. And my buddy's collected some. He had got a permit from there, and he had this one that was silver with pine green blotches. It was neat. But yeah, Utah's got super friendly laws now.
Yeah, Great Plains rats, that's one you don't see commonly kept. I remember that's what the creamsicle corn was supposed to be. It was like a hybrid, like Great Plains rat corn albino. And that was like back in the 90s. I remember seeing it in like Reptiles magazine when I was like a kid. But those are actually pretty neat snakes, the Great Plains rats. You don't really see too many people with them, but I've never, of course, owned one. I think that'd be a cool species to own. They're kind of niche, and they seem like they're pretty nice snakes.
Yeah, I mean, I've caught the one. I found them in Colorado, or in Colorado and Kansas and stuff. Yeah, they're neat. But the intermontanes where they're just a little different looking, because they're isolated.
Are they darker? Like, what's different about that locale?
I haven't found any. I've just seen what other people's found.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, but like my buddy had a pair. He collected a pair, and they're very, very silvery looking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you said that before. I think that's what you said. They're silvery. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about it. I think every time we have a Colubrid episode, I've never collected anything to keep in captivity to breed, but I do kind of wanna a little bit. Just a pair here, a pair there. Like as I travel to different states, we're allowed to collect, just for fun. Like you said, just nice little groups, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I collect a little bit of stuff, not like just gopher snakes and stuff, because I like to outcross my bloodlines. I like to have strong, healthy bloodlines, and with breeding color morphs, as we all know, like you're line breeding, and so adding in new blood is it's a super good, healthy way to do it. It's a lot more work, but worth it.
Well, how do wild caught colubrids do in captivity when it comes to cycling and breeding? Like, is it like a couple years to establish? Do you do better finding subadults?
Like I've got 2 or 3 Great Basin gopher snakes from the area here. You wouldn't know they're any different than my captive stuff. Like they do that well. Pits do anyway. My Mountain Kings, I've got a pair of Mountain King snakes from central Utah I collected a couple years ago. They eat every time. Like not every time, but like because they're seasonal. But they do just fine. I've had pretty good luck that way.
Fair. You okay?
Trying to look for this Great Plains rat.
Yeah,
this might be one of them. This one's pretty silvery.
Oh yeah, yep.
I mean, it's from my phone, so it actually kind of looks like crap when I'm showing it. But those are actually pretty cool looking snakes. I mean, they look like like a corn snake that has more like almost like a Western Massasauga like color. This one's pretty cool. This one's got kind of like a peachy background with green. It almost has like a nice green Western hognose kind of coloration look to it.
Yeah.
I think I flipped a neonate years ago, and then in the same area, I flipped a neonate like 5 years later. I flipped an adult Great Plains. I thought it was a Prairie King in shed. So I kind of looked at it really quick. I was like, oh, fuck, I've already seen one of you guys today. I put the rock down. And then Mike came up behind me and flipped it and told me it was a Great Plains. So it all happened so fast. I don't like mess with them too much. When I thought I'd saw it already, I just kind of moved on. I'm glad he went back and flipped the rock.
And so sometimes you got to keep holding on to herping. It's kind of like fishing. You're not catching anything. There's like a good like spot you're on. You're like, I got to keep fishing it. We Reps in Texas just paid $1.99 for me to ban Berserk. Should we ban Berserk for $1.99? He's been peaceful this time.
What so what makes you get into a new species? Just happen to see it one day and you get caught up in it?
Yeah. I'll get bored of looking at the same stuff, so I'll want to add. I started adding rat snakes in my collection the last, I don't know, 7-8 years, just to get some diversity, something new to play with. Yeah, anything that catches my eye, I just, always looking for something new. I recently got some king rat snakes. That's something new I never had. I added some of those like 6 months ago to the collection.
What did you pick up exactly? Just nice looking ones, go albino? Were you able to get ivory, hypo, anything like that?
I didn't some of those color morphs are pretty expensive. I did get some albinos and some normals. Yeah, I was in Pomona back in January. I found a few there. It was
Cool.
something to play with. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I don't think. Well, I wasn't there in January, was I? Did you go to this past Pomona?
I did not.
There.
Yeah. I might not make it there this year.
It's tough. I fly in every once in a while because I love walking the show. MJ hooks it up, but I don't know. I love Pomona, like you said. You can walk Pomona twice, miss a bunch of animals the first time, you'll see the second time. Snake Keeper's always got a pretty good variety of colubrids with them. I always check out their table pretty heavily. And I think Pomona, I don't know what show's my favorite when it comes to variety, but Pomona might be my favorite because of variety.
Oh, nice.
It does have a good variety there. You see some interesting stuff. Like there's that one guy, I can't remember his name, but he has a nice table of indigos. There's usually pretty good Colubrid selection. You see some cool house snake morphs there. I think Garrett brought those out. There's that one dude that brought those sunbeam snake morphs. See some pretty neat stuff there.
Yeah, I did back in January, and it was kind of off, kind of not the prime time of year, but I ended up buying, like I said, I found some great basin gopher snakes that caught my eye, that were really nice. But there was a bunch of stuff I wanted. I kept seeing Transpacos and rats, and yeah, there was a lot of neat stuff last January. It's a great venue. I think I'm gonna do the Colubrid Fest this year. Vend
Awesome.
there.
I'll be there.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm coming out to Colubrid Fest. I gotta confirm. I mean, I already talked to Zach, and I told Clint in passing, but I gotta just definitely be, because like sometimes I'll tell people like, hey, I'm going there, and they'll think okay, and then that's kind of it. But when I say, it's like, yeah, Jason, we can't hear you.
You sure?
I couldn't.
All right. Say something. Oh, we lost him.
No, we lost. I can't hear anything.
Can't hear shit. Is there a mute button? No, his mute's not on.
No, let me check his. Like, I didn't touch.
Well,
no, he's not on mute or nothing on my side.
Oh, you could sign in, sign back out. Say something again. Nope.
It's very quiet.
Yeah.
I don't know
out.
what could have happened.
Sign
Yeah,
back
I was
in.
talking, and then I seen he was talking, but I couldn't hear anything. I was like, "Oh shit!" Looks like I'm talking over. I didn't know he was saying anything. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, no. I would just, good. Let him X out. He'll bounce back in. See
All
if
right.
he pops in. I don't remember what the hell we were talking about now.
Pale Scale strongly recommends Russian rat snakes. I don't think Jason works with Russian rats. We can ask. Oh, there he is. Let's see if we get him back on stage.
Is that any better?
Yeah, that we can hear you now. Yeah, before It was like dead. We couldn't hear anything. Do you have any Russian rat snakes, Jason?
I do not. Nope. I don't. I hatched out today some Kushinera Japanese islands.
Oh, interesting.
Cool.
Japanese islands. I'm gonna try to look that up.
They're the ones that people are going crazy for them right now. They're the bluish green ones.
Oh, really?
But they want the locality ones because they're, for whatever reason, they're more blue than the other part of the island.
Yeah, that's a cool snake. I don't even think I've seen one of these before, and that's pretty hard. Generally, that's actually a pretty cool find, because generally, if I see anything, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that, or what. I don't think I've ever seen one of these.
Yeah, and they're kind of ugly ducklings too, so they grow into the colors.
Gotcha. Yeah, so when they're babies, so they have that nice ontogenic color shift.
Yep.
Yeah, I see the babies.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like racers, even like the blue racers. They start out just looking kind of they have pattern, and they're definitely not blue. Yeah, some of these are kind of like a greenish or like a turquoise.
Yeah, that's kind of more.
They got a big old rat snake head on them.
They're very docile. None of them ever bit me. So I've never been bitten by them.
How big? These look like they're like an average size kind of like rat snake. It looks like I'm looking at like a 4 or 5 foot snake, maybe tops.
Yeah, my female's 4 and my male's 5. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, no, Missouri's pretty chill on a lot of things. It's just native permit every year. I think it's $50. I don't know what their collecting rules are in the state. I don't think I've really looked into them, but just the basic stuff like no rat snakes. I think alligator snapping turtles completely off limits. I believe in the state. I could be wrong, but I believe they are. I believe they are off limits now.
I think you're right there because I think those were a lot of people like hunted those, and they take a long time to get to maturity for like turtle soup, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So he asked about 100 flower is also a neat species. Yeah, 100 flowers are pretty cool. I like those ones you actually sent me though, Jason. Like this one, the Japanese island rat snakes. Those blue ones are pretty impressive.
Yeah, I've wanted the 100 flower rat snakes. I've wanted those for decades, and now they're finally available. But I'm not, I'm not really set up for them. Those my room runs too hot for them. So
the cool species got like the bamboo rats and all of those. It seems like a lot of the old world rats kind of like it a little on the cooler side.
yeah, my place is too hot for that. But all that stuff is neat. I like all that Asian. Those rat snakes are awesome. I do have I have some calico beauties and stuff like that, but nothing, not too many Asians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I picked up some pyro stuff not that long ago. I haven't got anything new in a long time. Like I'm always talking about stuff I want to pick up, but there's a lot of things I didn't buy 10 years ago. I feel like I'm still trying to consider buying today.
What are you trying to buy, Dave?
I'm not trying to buy shit right now, man. I need boas to improve on some boas. I need skinks to improve on my already existing skinks. It might be a couple. I mean, I'm sure I'll get little things. We'll see what's at Bob's show. That's the problem. When I go to a show and walk around, I'll probably find something I like. Pyros is actually where I got my last pickup was the Pyros, and that was from Bob's last show.
Okay.
But no, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm always thinking or looking for something new, but it just depends on how much money I'm making. Like if I'm not selling a lot of snakes, I'm not buying a lot of snakes.
Right. I'm the same way.
So, do you plan herping trips for collecting? Like,
I don't like collecting. I really don't. Like I said, I do a few. I'll add in something here or there, to strengthen bloodlines and stuff. Or if I find a mutation or whatever, who does find mutations? But I'll add in a little bit of stuff here and there. But I don't really plan to go collect or anything. I got a trip to Mexico here in 3 weeks or so, and it's strictly just photography. There's no collecting.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm lacking is I'd like to become a better photographer. I'm always crawling around on the ground and getting a good picture of my cell phone, but I get other people sending me pictures of what they're doing, and it's not even the same ballpark. I want to step up my game.
I mean, these cell phones are pretty nice, but if I want to take some quality photos, and especially out in the field, I'll break out the CLR camera and play with the settings and lenses, and you get really good quality. But it is hard to photograph in the wild, though. It is.
The one thing though is, I don't know. I feel like with all the time and everything that basically, I feel like everybody's busy. I just like to take a picture on my phone. It's really nice to have that convenient picture.
Sure.
They just need to make better cameras for phones. They're pretty good though. Sometimes it takes some pretty good photos. Every now and then somebody they're like, "Oh man, that's a good photo. What kind of camera do you use?" I'm like, "Dude, that's like my Samsung 23."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few cell phone pics that are just that wow me, but yeah. I mean, it's super convenient to have the phone.
My cell phone pictures I feel are very inconsistent. it's all lighting. It's all just a lot of things about it. I noticed my photo looked really good at certain times of the day when it comes to pictures. Later in the day, it looked like shit. But I usually get like 3 or 4 pictures I'm really happy with out of like every 50 to 100 herping pictures I take.
Yeah.
But I'll also take like 20 pictures of one snake just to make sure I get one good image sometimes. Like the first coat trip I ever found, I think I took 30 or 40 pictures of that thing before I finally let it go.
Yeah, you have to take a lot of pics because half of them will be crap.
You do. I've gotten hate for that too from my one photographer friend. He goes, "Oh, dude, you take too many pictures." I'm like, "No, you take." So if you take like 3 pictures, then you go and you're like, "Oh, the picture looks like shit." Now you're fucked if you can't go back and photograph that animal. So yeah, I take a ton of photos too.
It kind of sucks. I hate all this. I hated Photoshop when it came out, just because what we do with real pictures these are real colors. These are real pictures. They're not edited. And now we got AI to deal with. Like that's just another thing to deal with. But yeah. I liked it when you couldn't doctor up anything. I liked it.
Yeah. No.
Sometimes though it goes against you because I'll take photos of snakes and then the person's like, "Oh, that's pretty nice." I saw it to them, and then they're like, "Oh, holy shit, these are way, way nicer in person." And then I end up screwing myself because my photos look like trash. And I look at them, I'm like, "Oh, that looks pretty good." And then I get them in person, like, "Wow, it looks so much better."
I guess it could be good and bad. Yeah.
How do you think AI is going to mess with the reptile community? Like, I mean, obviously, it's all, it's online. I don't think AI is going to really do too much other than, but how do you think AI is going to affect us as breeders and selling snakes?
I don't know if it'll affect us a ton, but it probably will at some level because it's like, I don't know.
I don't know how it affects sales or anything like that, but I'm sure there could be something you could ask your AI what animals to put together based on the color you want to get. It could do work for you, especially in ball pythons where you have a lot of genes. Information out there. AI is kind of a weird thing, man. I'm very fascinated by it, but I also don't give a shit about it. Like you were talking about Photoshop. I had a chance to use Photoshop and Illustrator back in 2002 when they was like the early days in school. I didn't give a shit. Like I didn't want to touch it. I didn't think it was art.
Yeah.
But I wish I paid a little more attention. But I'm sure you could use AI for something application when it comes to breeding or working with animals.
Yeah, or like maybe it'll help keep track and it can like automatically process certain things.
Could schedule for you, man.
It's going to give people some shit ass pairing ideas.
Could.
That could be good.
All shit ass ideas until you make something good, though.
Yeah, if you talk to a pessimistic person, sure.
Oh well, okay, fair.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's like, actually, Jason, this is a good one. I'm sure because the thing is, the psychology doesn't really change that much between species. You see something in like hognose community versus ball python, Pituophis, gecko communities. There's some things that are gonna be similar. Some things are different. But how many times have you seen like a morph come out and then people bash that morph at first, and there's something wrong with it. It doesn't look good. There's something they don't like about it, and then it's not saying to everybody. And then within a few years of being available, then everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best morph." But at first, people are bashing the hell out of it. It could be price, looks. They could say maybe it's not healthy when it actually doesn't even have any genetic health issues. How often have you seen that with bull snakes?
Not too much.
Okay.
Not a lot. You always have your critics. Like, you always have haters. Like, it's just part of it. Like, but I don't know. You just can't dwell on stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't. Not too much. Not too much. The pit community is pretty. They're pretty good people. Like, you don't get a lot of bashing and shit talking. It's pretty good people.
That's good then. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes you see like a hognose new morphs come out, and it's not so much somebody's like being like they just think that they're there's I don't know something bad about let's say like the price. Like when leucistics came out, people were bashing the price because they're like, wait, it's way too expensive. It's a dead end project, and they're like, you can't do anything with it, and they're like, you can only make albinos. And I was like, well, you can make super arctic leucistics, and people are like, well, that's probably not. I was like, I think it'll change it a pretty good amount, and then they're like, well, other than that, there's probably nothing. I was like, well, you can make super arctic albino leucistics. And it's like, yeah, beyond that, yeah, you really can't do anything. And then when sables came out, people were bashing sables. And the Swiss chocolates came out. Some people were bashing Swiss chocolates because like, oh, it looks just like a sable. How do you even know it's different? You haven't even bred them together. And so some of them are like valid arguments, but yeah, they're kind of put into a form of, where it's kind of like definitely criticism. And it's a lot of times comes across where it doesn't seem to always appear the most constructive. But that's kind of, I guess, partially the goal when you're saying like, hey, maybe you should test breed this or something like that. But the funny thing is, usually I'd say most of those things end up being actually good for the morph and the market on them, because then a lot of people then kind of get scared of investing in it or don't want it. And then if you see the opportunity, it's good, and you know that, hey, this is good, while everybody else thinks it's not, it's a really good buy at that time. So I've seen that several times with hognose snakes. But yeah, so I was wondering if that happened with bulls, but it sounds like you have like a niche or niche community of people that probably all know each other, bigger breeders, and nobody's really trying to be too much of a critic when it comes to stuff, which that can be, that's definitely pleasant when you don't have to deal with any type of drama.
Yeah.
It's a dumb conversation. No, I don't know, man. I find most communities are pretty good, in all honesty. I don't really stress of what's going on. I mean, the problem with you guys is you guys keep on reading the comments. You got to get the fuck out of the comments and just stare at pictures like I do.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just talking like, for me, I don't even think it is a negative. I don't think it's like a really bad thing. I just seen like when Swiss chocolates came out, I thought it was great. And so anyway, and then there's people bashing. So then like a lot of people didn't want to buy them at first, but then once they seen they were different. What
was the beef with Swiss chocolates?
That they thought they looked just like sables, and they said that they didn't test breed them to a sable to see if they were the same or if they were allelic, and that it could possibly be the same. I knew it wasn't. I was like, there was a possibility it could be allelic, and so that there's just some kind of like I'd say complaining going on, and that kept people away from wanting to invest in it. So I invested then early because I saw a lot of potential. So that's the thing. I'm just talking about like morphs coming out and kind of like strategy and stuff like that, and then seeing things that other people may not see.
I do think there's a due diligence when you have two mutations that kind of look similar to maybe put them together, whether or not find out it's not allelic, find out if it is exactly the same. Now I know with you and Swiss chocolate, because we talked about that earlier with the Sable project, you didn't ever necessarily think about it, but I always thought it'd been a good idea to know. And I do think that as a breeder, it's good to know what you're putting in.
No, it's good to know. No, it's definitely, you need to, like, that's the thing I was going to do, is I was going to breed a sable to a Swiss. The originator did that though before like I could even get mine up to really breeding. You know what I mean? So like I bought mine, and it wasn't until like a year and a half later that he proved that they weren't the same. But then there's people that are skeptical, saying like maybe he's lying about it. Is like anybody else ever done this? And then, but anyway, it of course is not the same thing.
Have you guys got to the double visual sable chocolate yet?
I haven't. I made double hats. The originator, he made double visuals. They look pretty cool. My explanation of it is going to be pretty accurate, but also lame. It kind of looks like an in-between of the two.
Okay, so it's not like an extra dark animal. It's
a little extra darker. I think you need to make. There's only two though. You need to make more of them to get a large enough sample size. Two is not good enough. And I think they're both males, and males generally tend to be a little lighter with Swiss. So we really need to have multiple double visuals.
Interesting. I would have thought it made a really, really, really dark animal.
I think if you do it with like Arctic and you combine like a xanthic and then you have both those, then yeah, probably. I think you need to have more additives.
Okay. Jason, what projects are you messing around with hognose now? Are you still just albinos, or have you incorporated some new mutations?
I mean, Jeff knows John. I mean, you both probably know John, my partner. He deals with most of our hogs, and he's got some good stuff going on. As far as at my place, nothing. I'm just playing around. I did hatch some like snow and albino condas. It's like that was kind of fun for me, but it was like it's kind of old news. But yeah, not a lot going on there for me. I do have some Mexican hogs that they're probably my favorite hognose in my collection.
Are they
Well,
locale Mexicans?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because the Mexican hognose, they were kind of like they've never been like there's never been a lot of them in the community. There's never been a time since I've been like, well, even when I was like, and even in the late '90s when I was getting my first hognose snakes, you know, I'd see like in like that June 2000 article from Richard Evans, they had some pretty cool looking Mexican hognose localities, and you just never, there's never been like a lot. Like, you know, I don't. If you went out tomorrow and you're like, I'd offer everybody like $500 for every locality Mexican hognose that's captive born, you probably wouldn't buy that many because there wouldn't be that many for people to even offer. And so
right.
that's pretty cool that you have those because that's something that's not widely worked with really anymore. And that's one thing I remember. There used to be more locale stuff, and now I feel like there's less locale stuff almost now.
Yeah, especially in stuff like in hognose, less for sure, probably locality stuff. Though, but those Mexican hognose, they're neat snakes. They are a pain in the ass. The babies are like they are a lot tougher than the westerns, in
That's
my
my
experience. In my experience,
that's my experience too. I had him for a little bit once, and I've known other people. I only know one guy. His name's Dayton, and he has some wild collected ones. And he bred them, and he didn't have a lot of babies. But he had like 6 or 7, and he said they all ate really good. And he said everybody's talked to, he's like the only person that had that experience with his Mexican hoggers that they all slam pinks like pretty much immediately.
wow.
But they do seem to be. I think they're more like lizard feeders, and they're not as opportunistic. And I think it seems like they don't have as large of a prey of variety like the plains do. So they seem to be a little more specialized feeders. So they definitely are trickier from the few
Yeah,
I had and what I hear from everybody.
yeah, that's kind of yeah. I I think what I like one reason I like them, I like the look of them, but like mine crack me up every time I open their tubs. They hood up every time. Like, they they have a little bit of attitude, a little spunk to them, so they're fun.
That's what it always seemed with the Kenner line. They always seemed like they were a little more defensive too on average. Like, you know, you'll find some planes that are calm. You'll find Mexicans that are calm too, but a lot of times they seem to be a little more on the defensive side. Do you have any? Do you just have one locale, or do you have multiples?
Just one, just
Okay.
one. Yeah, and I just have a trio, and so it's not nothing major or anything like that. But
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Mexican hognose are awesome. And I know John too. He showed me some of the morphs you guys are working on because I know you had like super Arctic sunburst hatched like recently and stuff. And anyhow, I'm going to see if we have any more questions. And then Dave, if you have any other questions, we've been on for about 2 hours, so we'll probably get wrapped up here fairly soon.
Well, honestly, so now I feel bad. I haven't watched your content on YouTube, but you know, what are your motivations in your content? Like, you know, what are you putting out there?
in our YouTube, we really been trying to just educate, like, because I'm not like, like I'm not the most entertaining person in the world. I'm not going to put on a big show or anything. So we just want to share our knowledge that we have and make, you know, keeping snakes for newcomers like easier. And we do a lot of color morph stuff too, and we've been on this feeding kick and just a lot of feeding tips on stuff and so like that. But yeah, we're really working to try to, help other keepers, beginners and stuff. That's our goal, our theme is I'm the breeder, my partner's just a hobbyist, so you kind of get both perspectives
Okay.
from us.
Like that. Yeah, I think Junior, you know, when you do your content, you just kind of wake up and say, I think this is what my content is today, or do you
Yeah.
plan your stuff at all?
That's pretty much about it. You kind of have it spot on. I mean, I think about the stuff I have to do, whatnot, but it's just like, yeah, it's the planning is about what you're thinking. Yes.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't watch a lot of YouTube and stuff. I'm just too busy, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you kind of have to do a lot of social media stuff in today's, in this business these days. So, we're doing it. It's not my favorite, but
Social media is good. The one thing is just like the learning curve of like posting stuff that can be a pain because it's like, oh, I gotta go on YouTube, I gotta do this, I gotta make a thumbnail, and and then but it is good to have videos out there like what you're saying, like feeding tips, and then just like for one, it helps people like know who they're maybe buying from, or like you're putting yourself out there, and you're a leading bull snake breeder expert, and then you could give your long term like learn tips and techniques to people on how to feed bull snakes. I think those are always really really good. So I think those like kind of the most important ones because there's entertainment content, feeding and other stuff, but the informative side of it's really good. And then you could always relate people that buy a bull snake or are interested in one to those videos.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, my personality's not that I'm not so much of an entertainer for sure. But yeah, but we have a lot of years of experience, and we're just trying to share what we know and help people out, make it easier.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks you need a goofy personality to like make it work on there, but honestly, I think good information is good information. I find some of the goofy personalities are fraudulent. Like it's something they got to turn on and turn off. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I get it. I always joke around when you look at modern day people doing any animal videos. It looks like they grew up watching Steve Irwin because they all grew up watching Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
But no, I think knowledge goes a lot further. You might not get as many views as you should as the goofy guy, but it's definitely a lot more helpful in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing is too, it's like, when it comes to information and stuff, like sometimes like, if I like somebody's showing you like how to feed a hog-nosed snake, you don't really need like a ton of like entertainment or comedy in there. It's like, it's like we need to know how it works. Like imagine if somebody was showing you how to work on a truck and then he's brought out a fucking clown in the middle of it. It's like, I get back to the truck, dude. So
Yeah. I mean, we give information, and then we want to wow you with some beautiful animals, quality animals, and that's what we try to do. Just
all right, this sounds authentic, and that's what you want. That's what John Lehaber is saying. Jason gets really excited when he starts showing his babies. Don't undersell yourself. So
nice, thank you.
yeah, and your YouTube is Snake Envy. So if you guys check out Snake Envy, really good Pitiophis, and I'm sure you show your Lamprepeltis and other species on there too.
Yeah, I would probably, if you want to, for eye candy, my Instagram is probably the best place to look at stuff, and it goes way back. I have like 1,700
Oh wow.
uploads, and I have photos. Like, I mean, you can go, if the deeper you go, the better shit you're gonna see. So, yeah, it's basically my Instagram is just, it's a portfolio of of my work that I've done for 30 years. So
That's pretty cool. That's like, so it's a nice little kind of like a scrapbook of your progress and the things you're working on.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, pretty much this entire episode off and on, I've been scrolling through, kind of looking at some of the work you've been doing. I looked at it beforehand, but no, I love your Instagram page. I honestly, I like your setup for your pictures. Customized. I like what you did. I like the realistic, the rocks, the sand. I think everything looks significantly better for those pictures because of it.
Yeah, I need to do an overhaul, but I do love doing the natural photo booth. It's kind of it's like setting up a terrarium or something, or landscaping. I kind of enjoy that and try to make it, it's not real, but it definitely gives your pictures a freaking like a vibe, like, you know um
I think the natural color tones that you picked, the way you picked it, makes the color pop on the species you do. I'm always trying to find a new creative way to like do boa constrictors, and like you, I want to like set something up where there's like complementary colors in the background, like greens will make the salmon colors pop a lot more. But at some point, I want to do something really nice for the bow. Something they can like naturally sit on. You know, you put a bow on a flat surface, man, they go straight out, or they get angry, or they flail a little bit. It's something I've got to work, and I've been trying to put some thought into.
Yeah, no, photographing is definitely an art. It's so is breeding snakes, I guess. You know, it's an art form, creating. So I know you guys know about that as well. But yeah, photographing is definitely an art form.
So if you guys want to see some really good Pituophis content, Instagram, go to MV Reptiles. They have an Instagram page, and then you also have the YouTube Snake Envy. And so we got some pretty good feedback here. You know, there's a lot of people saying they like the videos.
Oh, good.
And then Brian Lowtown saying great info all around. He says he just wishes you showed more snakes throughout the video. So this guy wants to see a lot more Pituophis throughout the whole video. He says you're showing a lot of good stuff at the end. So it sounds like Brian Lowtown is really enjoying the end of your videos, especially because he gets to see a lot of snakes. I mean, we get that onto this podcast too. People will be talking to somebody. They'll be like, Jeff, show us a hog. There's like, somebody show a snake. And so we're here to kind of talk about snakes and stuff and the history. But then they're like, can you show one? I think too many people are seeing too much TikTok and Instagram content where there's a bunch of colorful stuff happening as there's audio and video footage. So they need snakes too. Although we always like to look at snakes, so makes sense.
Yep.
All right, you guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah. It's been 2 hours. Thanks, Jason. It's Jason Nelson from MV Reptiles, guys. Again, give him a follow. He's on Instagram, and he has Snake Envy on YouTube. A lot of Pituophis content. He has like 1,700 posts on Instagram. So that's a really good history if you want to go through and look at some cool photographs of, bulls, Great Basin gophers, as well as other species of colubrids. So thanks, Jason, for your time and all of your information, knowledge, and experiences with, snakes, Pituophis, we mainly covered. Thanks again, Dave, for helping host this stuff. And then everybody, too, if you want to subscribe, please click. We're here every other Friday. Dave, you also have, when do you even do, when you do yours? Because Dave does like a separate one still?
With this one, yeah, I do every other Friday, and then I come out here because I like hanging out with you. Gotcha.
Damn, that's a lot. So he does every other Friday. So just come in every Friday. And we're going to have cool Colubrid people like Jason. Jason's out of Salt Lake. He's a good breeder. If you're looking for a Pituophis, anybody that likes Pituophis or is looking for one, definitely give him a referral. And again, guys, give him a follow. Really appreciate his time and information. Thanks, Dave, for helping host this and have this put together as I'm trying to run in here last minute. And guys, too, again, if you possibly can donate. Vin Russo lost his place. Talked about that a little earlier in the show. He has a GoFundMe. Unfortunately, his place caught on fire. That's one thing we're going to talk about. Is make sure to check your thermostats and stuff, everybody, and your heat tape, especially the old heat rope. Make sure nothing's worn down. If you touch your thermostats, everything. A lot of times I'll just put my hand on a thermostat. Your thermostat, it can be warm to the touch, but if it ever feels really hot, that could be a sign that it's overheating. There could be it's the wattage could be off. It's incorrect. Make sure your wires, nothing's chafed or scuffed up. I've heard of people actually almost having fires from racks where they have let's say a sea serpent, and the sea serpents, I'm sure it's fine, but they have the animal on moist substrate, and the snake, like a hog, is digging around and it's pushing out a little bit of damp coke core all at a time, and it's staying humid back there, and it makes a line of it, and that touches part of the flex watt, maybe one of the ends, and creates creates an electrical connection through that moisture and can actually start to short it out. Just be really careful with your stuff. Make sure your wires are free. They're not all bundled up. Make sure your, heat tape isn't crossing or touching in a manner where it shouldn't. And touch your outlets every now and then, or your, thermostats, to make sure they don't feel ultra hot to the touch. And, that's just some advice I've been given by my dad.
Last thing too, and this is something I've always done. When I open up a tub, I'm almost always touching the bottom by the heat tape, especially when I'm visiting people's collections, like an old habit. Just because thermostat says 88 degrees, if that probe's not in a good spot, it could actually be hitting 100 degrees underneath there. It could be going even more than that. I had a buddy at this brand new Freedom Breeder rack, went over to his house. He's like, look at all these brand new boas I have. First time I open up, I lift up I feel the bottom. You can feel it's like 110, 120 degrees. Thermostat said 88. Probe was just dangling there. It was picking up like a room temperature. So, little things like that. Just pay attention.
Yeah, and even though that like those running free without a probe isn't going to necessarily, that's not going to, but that's still not good for your animal. You want to make sure your probes are in place. So yeah, always check your probes. That's good advice. And so check all that stuff. And if Dave's in the area, just invite him over so he can check it for you.
Yeah, let me come over and check your shit.
All right, thanks guys. Thanks Jason. We're going to go out. See you later.